Hi, I'm Henry Hochmeier with the University of Florida Geomatics program. I'm located at the Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center in Broward County. Today I will present some results of our Miami-Dade urban tree canopy analysis study, which was recently completed. This project was a joint effort between the University of Florida Geomatics program and the Florida International University Geographic Information Systems Center. The project manager was Nick Anderson from Miami-Dade County. This project was a follow-up study to a study which was completed in 2016 and analyzed the tree canopy occurrence in 2014 for the same study area. This project was supported by several funding agencies, including the Miami-Dade County Park and Recreation Department, specifically the Neat Streets Miami program, as well as American Forests. These agencies also funded the previous pilot study in 2016. The main scope of this project was to determine the change in urban tree canopy for the Miami-Dade urban area between 2014 and 2019, and there are several causes that might lead to a change in tree canopy. First of all, there are some tree planting initiatives, like the Million Trees Miami initiative, but there is also development of residential units or industrial sites that may lead to a loss in tree canopy, and there was also Hurricane Irma in 2017, where it was suspected that it might lead to some tree canopy loss over those past few years. The project aim was to provide or measure this urban tree canopy change for municipalities, census places, and commission districts to show the loss or gain for those predefined units in terms of urban tree canopy. Furthermore, we tried to relate change in urban tree canopy to a change in surface temperature and to a change in socioeconomic characteristics of areas with decreasing or increasing tree canopy, and also to see how the relationship between urban tree canopy and hospitalization rates changed over the years. The study area covers the urban area of Miami-Dade County, highlighted in green, and the total area is around 443 square miles. Some rural areas are therefore excluded. The intracoastal water areas and bay areas are also excluded. The first step for the analysis was to create a land cover classification map based on which the urban tree canopy could be measured. Using this land cover classification map, a geographic information system, short GIS, was then used to estimate the existing and potential urban tree canopy for predefined aerial units such as municipalities, census places, or commission districts. The process of generating the land cover classification map relied on several data sources, including satellite imagery. This slide here shows an example of a Worldview 2 satellite image, which has an 8-band spectral resolution and a 2-meter spatial resolution on the ground. As you can see, most satellite imagery was acquired in November 2019 and only a small sliver in March 2020 on the eastern part of the study area. Furthermore, an airborne LiDAR dataset was used. That's essentially a 3D point cloud. This point cloud was then used to create a 2-meter resolution digital elevation model. And this digital elevation model was used to reclassify wetland areas with a height of at least 50 centimeters as tree canopy. In addition, various predefined and pre-calculated geographic information system vector layers were used that are available for download from the county website. This includes buildings footprints, the edge of pavement, showing the layout of streets. We also used railroads, which were buffered. Furthermore, we used water bodies, including ponds, lakes, and canals inland, as well as agricultural areas or cropland. And those GIS vector layers were overlaid on top of the land cover classification map we got based on the satellite imagery and LiDAR dataset. This shows the result of the land cover classification process with 9 land cover classes. Dark green here indicates tree and shrub areas, and red areas indicate buildings. This slide shows some land cover statistics for the analyzed area. Highlighted in the table are the 3 largest land cover classes. We see that grass covers about 24.8%, which is the largest type of land cover, followed by tree canopy with around 20.1% and buildings at 17.7%. The plus-minus numbers in parentheses show the uncertainty of those numbers. The percent cover of tree canopy was 19.9% in 2014. This means that we did not notice a significant change in tree canopy between 2014 and 2019. This figure shows a breakdown of the existing urban tree canopy for 79 census places in the study area. Darker colors indicate a larger percentage of tree canopy among the mix of land cover classes. The largest percentage of urban tree canopy exists in 3 communities that are relatively near to the coast, to the south of Miami, and they feature large single-family homes and mangrove forests. And as you can see, it's lakes by the bay, Coral Gables and Pinecrest, with over 40% or 40% of existing urban tree canopy. On the other end of the scale, we have some municipalities with the smallest percentage of urban tree canopy. They're found in a spatial cluster of census places located to the northwest portion of the county and include Medley, Hialeah Gardens, and Hialeah, with around 5% of existing tree canopy in 2019. The map shows the tree gain or loss for the 79 census places. We see that relative tree gain takes place mostly in the northeast portion of the urban area, including the beach areas. Meanwhile, new construction further inland tended to reduce the existing urban tree canopy. Tree canopy change can be expressed as the change in the proportion of tree canopy among all land cover classes within a census place, and this is shown in the map with percent urban tree canopy change and also in the chart to the right. For example, the share of existing urban tree canopy for Biscayne Park or El Portal among all land cover classes increased by around 11% in those 5 years of the analysis. As opposed to this, the share of tree canopy dropped by around 6% for South Miami. One contribution to tree canopy gain comes from the reforestation and renaturalization of previously built areas. For example, in El Portal, a mobile home park was present in 2013, but it was taken out before 2020. The empty area was replaced by tree canopy over the years, which contributed to the increase in the share of existing urban tree canopy from 23.2% to 34.3% across El Portal during the examined period. Also, natural habitat areas to the north and northeast revealed a densely growing tree canopy over the years. This example is taken from a natural area in Andover within Miami Gardens. One aspect that can be expected to contribute to canopy growth, but at different speeds, is funding provided to municipalities through the Million Trees Miami initiative. This initiative pursues the goal of a 30% tree canopy coverage across Miami-Dade County. Although no overall change in tree canopy has been observed between 2014 and 2019, and the results of this initiative need yet to be investigated in more detail, municipalities received different amounts of funding through this initiative. This map shows for municipalities in the northern part of the study area the number of new trees funded per square kilometer between 2016 and 2019, where darker colors mean more funding. Tree loss can partially be attributed to new residential and industrial developments when forested areas are replaced by buildings roads or impervious or vegetated areas. This example shows new warehouses, industrial buildings, and residential communities built within the study period in Hialeah, where red areas indicate loss of tree canopy. In order to move on to discussing the role of tree canopy on surface temperature, the figure to the left color codes surface temperature in degrees Fahrenheit based on resampled 30-meter resolution Landsat 8 thermal infrared imagery taken in January 2021, which is about 1 year after the acquisition date of satellite imagery for the 2019 study period. The right figure maps the change between surface temperature derived from satellite imagery taken in January 2016 and 2021 in degrees Fahrenheit. Red areas show warmer temperatures in 2021, which occurs for newly built areas and some agricultural areas. For example, here, here, and here. As opposed to this, blue areas indicate cooler areas in 2021, which is, for example, the case for lakes and ponds. The obtained surface temperature depends on weather conditions during the date of acquisition. Therefore, no conclusions can be drawn as to whether the surface temperature generally increased or decreased between these years. However, using the difference between temperature maps from different years allows to visualize localized temperature change patterns and to explore possible reasons for such changes, including land cover change. Although the range of temperature changes spans from negative 7 degrees Fahrenheit to almost 16 degrees Fahrenheit, most temperature changes that are co-located with observed land cover changes fall within a more moderate 1 to 7.5 degree Fahrenheit range of surface temperature changes. To analyze the relationship between land cover change and change in surface temperature between 2016 and 2020, 12 land cover change classes were aggregated from all possible land cover change combinations. These 12 categories are shown to the right with the abbreviations. The typical range of surface temperature changes between 1 and 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit was divided into bins of half degrees. Next, the proportion of land cover change classes in each temperature change bin was computed based on a sample of several hundred points for each temperature change bin. Land cover change combinations towards the left show a relative cooling effect, whereas land cover change combinations towards the right tend to increase surface temperature. For example, higher surface temperature increases are tied to a higher proportion of change from tree canopy to pervious surfaces, shown in beige color here. Surface temperatures also increase when tree canopy is changed to impervious surfaces, shown here, or when pervious is replaced with impervious surfaces, shown in gray. As opposed to this, a change from pervious surfaces to tree canopy, like in dark green here, is primarily found in the lower temperature change regions of the chart. The same is true when changing impervious to pervious surface types, such as concrete to grass or bare ground. Also, replacing pervious surfaces or trees with water or wetland have a cooling effect. This figure demonstrates for an area west of Medley, which underwent a construction project between 2014 and 2020, the relationship between land cover change and change in surface temperature. Several types of land cover changes can be observed. Former tree canopy was replaced with impervious land, for example buildings or parking lots, primarily in the western half of the plot, as shown in orange. Gray areas show replacement of pervious land, for example sand, soil or grass, with impervious surfaces. All these changes in land cover corresponded to increased surface temperature, as shown in the local temperature change map to the lower right. For the analysis of socioeconomic variables, census data were used from 1,446 populated census block groups. Socioeconomic data were obtained from the American Community Survey data 2015 to 2019 5-year estimates. The goal was to relate the percent of existing tree canopy in 2019 to the 2019 median annual household income, percent African American population in the census block group, and the percent Hispanic population in the census block group. Furthermore, we analyzed whether these associations change between 2014 and 2019. This map shows the percent of existing urban tree canopy for 2019 for census block groups in the analyzed study area. The map to the lower left shows the median household income for census block groups, and visually one can see that areas of higher tree canopy also associated with areas of higher income. So there is a positive relationship. The map to the upper right shows the percent Hispanic population in census block groups, and visually one can see that areas with a high percentage of Hispanic population tend to be in areas which have lower tree canopy. So there is a negative correlation observed between those two variables. Next, the fourth map shows the percentage of African American population in census block groups, and there is no obvious relationship either in a positive or negative correlation between those two variables. These scatter plots visualize the same information as the previous maps along two axes. On the horizontal axis, it shows the percent tree canopy per census block group, and on the y-axis, it shows household income, percent African American population, and percent Hispanic population for those census block groups. There's obviously a strong positive correlation between tree canopy and household income, and a strong negative correlation between percent Hispanic population and tree canopy, with a lot of census block groups with a high percentage of Hispanic population and a low tree canopy percentage. There is no obvious relationship between percent tree canopy and African American population, since this regression line is virtually horizontal. Below are the correlation coefficients for the variable pairs analyzed. We see a positive correlation between median annual household income and tree canopy, and a negative correlation between tree canopy and percent Hispanic population, and no correlation between tree canopy and percent African American. Comparing this relationship to the 2014 results shows that there's virtually no change in the role of household income and tree canopy. The negative association between percent tree canopy and Hispanic strengthened in 2019 compared to 2014. And in 2014 there was a slight negative correlation between percent tree canopy and African American population, but this effect became non-significant in the 2019 results. We also analyzed the relationship between respiratory-related hospitalization rates and the density of existing urban tree canopy at the zip code level. These maps visualize the percent of existing urban tree canopy to the left and respiratory disease-based inpatient rate per 100,000 residents to the right, where a negative association can be observed. Correlation analysis showed that areas with a higher percent of existing urban tree canopy have smaller respiratory-related hospital rates per 100,000 residents, as shown to the left, and also smaller overall hospitalization rates per 100,000 residents, as shown to the right. These relationships are not necessarily caused by higher tree canopy per se, but could also possibly be attributed to better health care, a healthier lifestyle, and better disease prevention mechanisms in higher income zip codes that tend to have a higher percentage of existing urban tree canopy. Compared to 2014 data, the relationship between respiratory-related intakes per 100,000 residents and percent urban tree canopy weakened somewhat, but this is not shown here. This slide provides a few take-home messages of this presentation. Overall tree canopy within the Miami-Dade urban development boundary is 20.1%, which is only slightly higher than the 19.9% of urban tree canopy from 2014 and not statistically distinct from that value. Although there is no change in overall tree canopy, the proportion of urban tree canopy changed by up to 10% in various municipalities and census places. Certain land cover changes led to a change in surface temperature. An increase in surface temperature was generally observed if tree canopy is replaced with other surface types such as pervious or impervious land cover. As opposed to this, a change from pervious surfaces or impervious surfaces to tree canopy resulted in a relative cooling of the surface temperature. Also, water and wetlands seem to have a cooling effect on surface temperature. Tree canopy was positively correlated with the median household income, but negatively correlated with percentage of Hispanic population, where the effect is even stronger in 2019 than in 2014, and the correlation with percentage of African American population became non-significant in 2019. Also, it was found that tree canopy is negatively correlated with respiratory-related and overall hospitalization rates. So people tend to be healthier in areas with a lot of tree canopy. More details about this study can be found in the Urban Tree Canopy Assessment Study Report that can be downloaded from the county website as a PDF file. Thank you for joining this presentation, and I can be reached under this address for any follow-up questions.